does it take to be a responsible aging adult? And I'm in that category as well. And what does it take to avoid having your loved ones, your children, um, have the burden of your responsibility? How do we avoid that? And so that's the topic of tonight. Tonight is another Tuesday Tips. Welcome. My name is Pam Dunwald. I'm one of your nurse advocates. This is we are live in our Facebook forum, speaking out on the care of your aging parents. We'd love to have you come over. We have a lot of great discussions over there. I share a lot of insights and a lot of education over there. So every Tuesday we come here live and we talk about a subject that's either around caregiving for your aging parents, senior care, or how we can help aging adults live out their golden years gracefully. So today is one of those topics. So we've been talking about advance directives and having your wishes known and having your family know what you want or do not want done. So we've been kind of talking about that the last week or so. We're going to take it one step further today in today's Tuesday Tips. So we're going to talk about how do you prepare financially? When do you see the estate planning attorney? What do you talk about with your financial planner? And where does an advocate fit into this whole picture? How can you benefit maybe by seeing and meeting with a patient advocate or a nurse advocate first? So we're going to get right into that. So we're going to, we suggest that you possibly, a good plan would be to meet with a patient advocate first. And why? Well, we know attorneys charge by the hour. They may have a package fee for estate planning. They may not. So before you meet with the estate planning attorney and before you meet with your financial advisor, it's a good idea to meet with an advocate because we can look at the healthcare, we can look at the whole picture, we can assess your needs, both, how you want to age, where do you want to live, do you want to age in place, are you thinking that you may want to go into a assisted living? Now, your financial planner and your estate planning attorney, they're going to draw up all the legal documents. They're going to put those plans in place, tell you how to fund your choices. But who's going to help you look at how to make those choices and what you should consider in making those choices so that you're as prepared as possible to go into those meetings? So one of the things we suggest meeting with a patient advocate first is and look at their credentials. One of the things you may want to look for in is a board certified patient advocate. They're going to carry the credentials BCPA. Linda and I are both nurses. We're both RNs for well over 40 years apiece, but we also chose to get board certified as patient advocacy. So we did seek those credentials. So ask the credentials of the advocate that you're meeting with and what experience they have in advanced life planning. So what an advocate can do with you is sit down, conduct a comprehensive assessment of your healthcare goals. So for example, if you have a chronic health condition, such as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, or congestive heart failure, or maybe you've in the past had a diagnosis of cancer and maybe it's in remission right now. But taking all of those things into consideration, not only do you have to plan for who's going to get your estate when you pass away or where's my money going to go, but how are you going to meet your healthcare goals as you age? So I think before you can look at the rest of that, you've got to look at your health and you have to look at how you want to live out those golden years. So we're going to discuss with an advocate, we're going to discuss potential healthcare challenges and how are you planning on managing them proactively. Everybody's different. Everybody's situation's different. So it's hard for me to get too specific here, but I think you get the gist. So we want to also determine if your advance directives are in place. An advocate can assist you with preparing those advance directives. So can a social worker at the hospital or your doctor's office. You do not need to pay an attorney to do your advance directives, although a lot of attorneys are very accustomed to doing them. And oftentimes, if you don't have one in place already, they'll make that as a part of their estate planning package. So the other thing that the advocates are going to do is we're going to engage in open family dialogue with you. If you have to bridge any communication gaps regarding your healthcare decisions, we can be that buffer. We can try and bring the whole family all on the same page so that not only are they willing, your designee willing to carry out your wishes, They understand why, and even though it may conflict with their own wishes on how they would like things to go. So we can help buffer. And sometimes a third party is really necessary, because sometimes people will listen to an expert outside of their family circle versus arguing and talking it out within their family. So there's no authority when you're working with your brothers and sisters and your mom and dad. It's a whole different dynamic. So sometimes that third party expert can make a difference in having those discussions. So the next thing is we're going to look at the financial planning. So the important things to discuss with your financial planner is you want to look for a financial planner with fiduciary responsibility, or CFP. And what that means is they have to keep your best interests at play, so that a lot of these, insurance slash financial planners, and we made this mistake ourselves. So I'm 100% guilty, because if you want to discuss your healthcare needs, I'm right on and I can help you. But when it comes to finances, that's not my strength. So I lean on other professionals for that. So in working with our CFP, we found out that our current financial plan, the kind of uh, financial packages that they have them in are what they call A funds, and that they're making a little bit on every transaction and every month. And with the CFP, a fiduciary, I mean, they may charge you a fee up front to become your financial planner, but they don't make anything off of your funds. Their whole role is they have to look out for your best interests, not their own. So big difference. So I had to learn the hard way a little bit on that. So learn from my mistake that trust your financial planner as being a fiduciary or a certified financial planner. So next thing is schedule a meeting with them to review your assets, your liabilities, what your financial goals. And if you've met with the advocate before, or you've already determined what you're going to do, they can actually sit down with you and based on your goals, say if you want to age in place, they can take into consideration future costs for healthcare. Maybe you need a little help in the home. They have tools that they can calculate all of these things out for you and give you a good idea of how much that's going to cost. On the flip side of that, say you feel that you would like to go into an assisted living type setting or a senior community. They depending on where you live, they can look in their tools. They can give you a good estimate in your area of the country, how much that is going to cost and how you're going to plan for that, how you're going to pay for that. So it's really super important that you get the advice from them, because they are the experts in how you're going to fund your golden years. So they're going to develop a comprehensive plan with you, including your retirement savings, investments, insurance coverage, things like that. So essential professional to have in your back pocket as you're planning your golden years and as you're wanting to age gracefully, and be that responsible aging adult who's not going to leave your kids or your family with all those decisions. And that's a lot of stress. And we interviewed on our blog post, we'll have this video, but we interviewed some adult children of aging parents. And one of the common themes is that they were afraid to make the wrong decision. So by having all these plans in place ahead of time, that's going to lift that burden off of your family, and they don't have to worry about if they're making the right decisions on your behalf. So once your choices are shared with the financial planner, we talked about you're going to determine how that's going to be funded. So what are your options? How will your choices get paid for? And so make sure before you go see your financial planner, and I'm sure the financial planner will set you up with this, just make sure that you take the time to get all the documents together before you meet with your financial planner, so that you don't have to have multiple times just trying to gather your information. So try to get a list ahead of time and start pulling those documents together that you'll need. The last professional we're going to talk about an estate planning attorney. Now, an estate planning attorney, this is necessary to determine all the legalities of your home, if there's going to be any money left over, if you're looking at wills, if you're looking at trusts, would you be best served by an irrevocable trust or a revocable trust? What's the difference between the two? What are your goals to have, with your assets? You want to make sure that you understand all the terminology. You want to ask the questions, what happens to my assets if I don't have a will or trust? Tell me what happens if I don't have this in place. It's going to be a good expense, depending on where you live, probably at least $800 or so, to put a basic estate planning package together, more or less, depending on where you live and who your attorney is. Ask them the tough questions. What happens to my home? What happens to my bank accounts if I don't have, a will or a trust in place? What happens to my bills? What happens, who has to pay my bills? Does my family have to pay my bills? Ask them those questions. What happens to my retirement funds or my investments? What is, if I don't have anything, what does probate look like? Probate is a couple of year process. If you don't have anything in writing, things are going to be tied up in probate for a couple of years at least. So this is another great reason to get your affairs in order and meet with that estate planning attorney to avoid the probate if possible. So you want to look at that will or the trust so that you're clearly determining how your assets will be managed and distributed, and who will manage your estates financially when you're unable. Who are you going to designate as that financial power of attorney that's going to do that when you no longer are able? So to set up your power of attorney advance directives, we talked about that. They can certainly do those advanced directives if you don't have that done. And we talked about how other ways with, your patient advocate or your the social worker. So that's, the difference. Those are the three professionals that we really recommend that you meet with. If you're an adult child of an aging parent and you're listening to this presentation, sit down with them, ask them, say, what, I love you. I don't mind taking care of you when you age, but it would really be a good benefit, or it would really make me feel better if you had these things in place so that I don't feel like I'm making wrong decisions on your behalf. So that's a great way to start that conversation. So let's go over just a couple of general tips, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this Tuesday tips video. So number one, where will you keep your documents? It's best to keep them all in one place. And where are you going to keep them safe? Number two, who's going to know where these documents are, and how are they, people that you will need access? How will they be able to access them? So that's something to think about. Does your doctor, your attorney know who has permission to speak with you? Other than yourself, do you have a family member? Is there anyone else that has access to maybe your online patient portal that you've given permission to? Who else can help you manage all of these things? And then number four, have you had the advanced life planning discussion with your family? We've also going to include in our blog post, we've included some resources with that. We'll put the blog post link here so that everybody can get access to that. And we're also going to have a checklist for you. So don't worry about if you're not going to remember all of these things. We've put together a nice free checklist that you can get downloaded in that for yourself. So, and just in wrapping up, caring for your loved one as they age, or preparing for their future, requires courage, love, and also the willingness to be proactive. These aren't pleasant things to have to think about or do. Very easily gets put on the procrastination list because nobody wants to talk about these kind of things. And so we understand why it's easy to put this type of planning on the back burner. So no judging here. I mean, I'm just as guilty in some of these areas as other people. And so we just want to say this is best case scenario. And we want to give you the best possible scenario for you to be successful in as you retire. So we talked about the checklist going to provide just a structured approach, guiding you through, some of the most personal and impactful decisions that you're going to have to make. And we talked about it's essential to choose professionals that you feel meet the criteria, meet the standards. You can use the guide, as a path to be able to get these things checked off. And, remember, compassionate care for your aging parents is also peace of mind to the adult children. And that's what we do at Your Nurse Advocate Consulting, and we're always here to help. So please reach out, comments, concerns, ask questions. We'd love to be able to help you any way we can. So with that being said, we'd love to see you over in our forum, speaking out on the care of your aging parents over in our Facebook, private Facebook group. And otherwise, we'll see you back soon on the next Tuesday Tips. Take care.